Hey, it's a rainy day in Tampa Bay, but our traffic is flowing, but we'd like for it to flow better. And what we're doing here is talking about technology, transportation, and how we're going to take the lead in autonomous vehicle technology and a whole host of other things. Around the table are guys who are incredibly smart, who are starting really neat companies. We've also got Jason Bittner from Cutter, who's the Center for Urban Transportation Research. Great group that's going to take in the lead on transportation. But I'll ask you to let's go around the table. Everybody introduce themselves, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're doing, and then we'll start the conversation. Jason.
Jason Bittner. I direct the Center for Urban Transportation Research at the University of South Florida. We're a 25-year-old research institution, but really bridging the policy, planning, engineering, and social aspects of transportation across the board. In November, we launched the Automated Vehicles Institute in partnership with the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority, and we're really just starting to position Tampa Bay as a leader in implementing and doing what we need to do to implement new technology in transportation.
Thanks, Jason.
I'm Rafael Hernandez. I'm with the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority, and as Jason said, we're working on this connected vehicles project, and THIA is now one of the 10 national test beds for connected vehicles. We're coordinating with Cutters, and we're ready to start adding something to the table to improve this on our region.
So we have the platform, or we're going to be creating the platform, put it in place so we can test this technology.
Yes, I mean the idea behind this is that we're trying to establish this test bed for private sector and public sector to work together to find out what we can do to improve what is existing out there. There are another 9 test beds in the United States, and we just executed the agreement last Friday with USDOT, the RITA program, to be in the affiliated test bed program, so we're learning right now.
And this vehicle connection is via the transponders, basically, is what?
We are trying to learn from them. It is only a week, but it's some of vehicle to infrastructure and vehicle to vehicle type of communication. But like I say, we are new on that neighborhood, so we're learning at this point.
How you doing, Mark Sharpe? My name is Ty Mathan. I'm the CEO of Up Ballet, and what we do is we provide advanced technology into the automotive space. So we take all the manual inefficiencies of purchasing a vehicle, and we take that and we put that into a tablet-based solution to give a sales rep the ability to take all the paperwork and put that into a tablet to make the buying experience more enjoyable and speed the process up, therefore increasing sales for dealerships, at the same time making the consumer experience much more personalized and enjoyable to them. So we focus on just changing the way people buy cars, because I worked 9 years in the automotive space, and frankly, after seeing so many customers come in and how long it takes to buy a car, it should be a different way. So that's a passion of mine that changed that.
That's really cool. And we've been hearing a lot about you.
Thank you.
And you're running hard.
Yes, very, very much so.
Very excited.
We started I started the company by myself solely June 18th, and now I have 7 full-time employees, and I just brought 3 in from California that moved to Tampa Bay. So 7 employees, 3 transfers from Silicon Valley over to Phoenix.
That is fantastic.
Renz Kuipers, one of the co-founders with Carvoyant. Carvoyant built out a middleware platform enabling the connected car. So what that means is we take away the complexity the developer has to go through to create and distribute an application, enabling a facet of the connected car. So for example, GM has OnStar, and OnStar has opened up their developer program, but it's still a very rigorous process to just get an application spun up for OnStar and GM, and then once they've got that done for GM, they have to do it all over again for Ford and on down the line. And Carvoyant says, no. Our platform is simple, it's open, our data API is available for developers to simply come to our system. It's available on all vehicles built since 1996, and integrating with folks like you guys is actually very interesting, and we can provide an additional data layer on real live vehicles that are out there that may not have a transponder on it, as well as metrics that are coming right off the vehicle bus to integrate into your system.
Perfect.
As well as, of course, a lot of other commercial applications.
Perfect. Where's Carvoyant now?
In Odessa. So we've got a team of 5 folks.
And how old is your company?
2 years old.
Cool. Christian.
Thanks. Thanks for the invitation and coming down here. And it's kind of funny, after going after Renz here, we could almost be said we're doing the same thing for the infrastructure side. So whereas you're kind of bringing everything together for the cars, we're bringing everything together for the information outside of the car. So all of the information we have in our infrastructure, the sensors in the street, the cameras, we take that information and make it available to the cars, to the mobile apps, to all those types of things. So MetroTech was started a few years ago. I left IBM to start it. Got a lot of the ideas down. Came out of the Smarter Cities idea that I helped kind of get going at IBM. Founded an intelligent transportation practice there, and then left to start this a few years ago. We're based in Atlanta, but we're so blown away by what Tampa's done, what Jason's done, and Raphael, what they're doing. Everybody here seems to be looking forward. From Senator Brandis, working on a car having a driver's license, the Autonomous Vehicle Institute, to all the things you're talking about with how transit and transportation all comes together. So I left Tampa Bay 19 years ago. Went to Atlanta, and now we're looking to come back here because the forward thinking, the progressiveness in transportation is just a great mix. So we've got some folks in Atlanta, some in Silicon Valley, and I kind of looked at your model is let's get some really smart people back home or back to a place where they can have a better quality of life, because I just spent a week out there and it's tough, right?
I mean, for me and Commissioner Sharpe were on a panel 4 months ago at HCC, and if you rewatch it, I said I had opportunities at that time. I was being courted to go out to California, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't make sense to me because it's my business. I'm going to pay. That's 10% of my profits gone.
Yep.
Right? The taxes to the state. And at the same time, it's like I've been involved in I started my entrepreneurship journey here 2.5 years ago, and it's like I was part of the wave, helping the wave grow, and it's like I want to stay in Tampa and create jobs, right?
Yep.
So it's like having the opportunity to stay here saves me 10%, but at the same time, it's like if I can build the right model and build the right business, it's like I have an opportunity to be a big fish in a small pond, and I like that. I like to be an example to show other entrepreneurs how to go from being, I didn't go to college for anything I've done right now. I've just taught myself for the last 2.5 years, and I've been asking everybody around town, that's part of all the organizations, just how to do it. So the best advice I ever got was, when you ask for money, you'll get advice. When you ask for advice, you'll get money. And the knowledge that I've gotten over the last 2.5 years has been more valuable than anything I've ever done in my entire life. So it's like people in the community are willing to help people. You just got to be able to ask, right? And so I like what you're doing. I like this license for a car deal. What's that about though? The license for a car, you were saying, like somebody's talking about making your car have a driver's license?
Yeah, your car literally. So Florida, Nevada, California, and now Michigan as of December all have laws that says that your car can have a driver's license and drive itself. And
Sure.
And the problem we got to figure out in the next 10 years, and this is so cool, I met with an investor yesterday down here talking about in the next 10 years, we get to figure out, can the car drive my kids to school? And if
Nice.
so, the oldest kid has to be how young?
Nice.
Right? And can it drive home to pick my wife up
I
or
love
pick
it.
me up? And then is it a robot car, and is that legal?
Nice.
And when the Florida car gets to the Georgia border, do I have to start driving again? I mean, these are the things that we get to figure out. That
I like it.
Jason's leading this in the policy
like
sense.
that.
These are the things we get to deal with the next decade,
No, that's really.
Jason, we're going to get to Kevin. Kevin, let's go to Kevin, then I want you to respond to what you just heard from Christian. Cool.
I'm Kevin Thurman. I'm the executive director of an organization called Connect Tampa Bay, and we're a grassroots organization that's looking to improve transportation and honestly create more choices in the area. And those choices, we actually put out a plan last night. And that choice includes things like transit that people have been talking about for a long time. But one of the things that we're really passionate about is this regulatory issue with automated cars. One of the things, aside from kind of the details of how we start doing the insurance and everything like that comes down to it, is that our use of cars is going to change, and it just like all technology is done prior to transportation getting part of this revolution and seeing this, is that it opens up people with more choices. Right, I can buy something from anywhere in the world right now, thanks to the internet and e-commerce world. That's that we saw when decades ago. Right, honestly, at this point, and transportation is going through that transformation. And to me, one of the things that Connect Tampa Bay is passionate about, and our members are passionate about, is giving people choices to get around. So the choice to be able to drive or not drive or take transit or walk someplace and that kind of thing. That flexibility is what people are looking for in the marketplace, and that's what we want Tampa to be able to provide.
Nice.
That's cool. Jason, let's keep that conversation.
So I'll get back to that. On the technology front, I think for the first time as a transportation professional, looking back 20 years of a career, the technology is actually not going to be the barrier to a new option. I mean, our challenges are going to be on the policy, on the regulatory, on some consumer acceptance issues. You know, the designers in the 1950s built the interstate system to last 50 years because the expectation was that we wouldn't still be driving the same kind of automobiles. So that was the mentality. There would be a flying car. 50 years before that, there weren't cars, right? So here we are in 2014, still using the same basic technology we've used throughout the entire 1900s, right? But now that technology, the flying car, I don't think will ever happen. But what we've got is the ability to use analytics, to use the information, to use the infrastructure in a way to move people efficiently in a method of their choice. I mean, the disruptive effect of automated and connected vehicles are really fascinating from a research perspective because of this issue of, I think the technology is going to be there before all of the decision making, the regulatory, the policy and planning decisions that we have to make. And that's what's really kind of fascinating about Senator Brandis's leadership right now, is he's saying we need to be on the front edge of this. Mark, Commissioner Sharpe, your leadership on the subject in general, we need to be on the front edge because, frankly, we're going to have our Kodak or Polaroid moment or whatever where, if you don't do something about it, that's the big business line. I mean, there's a lot of structural things. Obviously, there's labor issues involved. If you have a fleet of automated taxis, that's a lot of drivers that don't have a job anymore. If you change the freight infrastructure to have more automated technologies used, it's a lot of jobs. So we've got to figure that out. But it opens up new opportunities, and that's what's really fascinating about the technology that we see around the table. Is that's the future. I mean, you've added 7 new people in a really tight time frame. I mean, I don't think FDOT's hired 7 people in the last year. That's just sort of the way that technology develops. So we got to think about those kind of things.
Scott Belcher's the president of ITS America, and he gave a presentation at the Georgia conference last year, and he put up this slide with Google, Waze, Streetline, just a couple of other tech companies, and he said, now look at these companies up here. None of them were in transportation 5 years ago. Right, and what you said is so important. I'm glad that you understand this. We need your leadership to continue to get this message out there. The way we've done things for the last 50 years was very construction oriented, right? Very trenching and very lethargic. You can't innovate like that. This type of a program, if you want to make this a digital city, it's got to be outside of the old model. It's got to be innovative, and it's got to find ways, like working with you and you to move rapidly and to make decisions very quickly, and not go back and list and say, okay, what kind of cameras were there from 5 years ago? Because those are outdated. Technology moves so fast, we've got to stay on top of it. So you need some type of adroitness, some type of real nimble method to get this done. Policy will be the limiting factor. Technology's already there. Policy and the business model will be the limiting factor.
And I think the one thing I would say is on the policy side, there's going to be, whether we're digging trenches or there's going to be a funding thing. A perfect example is right here in this county. It's something we could solve tomorrow if we just put money into it. There's an automated traffic system that would have a lot of cameras that your company could use to give us more information on what's happening and be able to do more of this work. But we don't have the money to implement it. We've been implementing it for a decade, and it's kind of ridiculous. So I mean, that's kind of movement we need to go ahead and do, and we need not be afraid to replace those cameras and upgrade them on a regular basis, because that technology is as critical as the stripes on the road now. Yeah. And that technology is going to be critical to transit. I mean, if you want to figure out what's going on, it's critical to automated cars. It's going to be critical to people driving and information. And so I think that one of the things we have to admit is that we also are going to have to make some bets. And they're not huge ones. We're not asking people to build a multi-billion-dollar camera system. We're just asking people to invest a few $1 million in getting it done now and making sure that we keep upgrading.
Well, a few million. I mean, I can tell you the legislative policy group that's been meeting at the county center, it's got the mayor, the members of the city council, Hart, the county commission, received a presentation from the individuals who are kind of guiding us through this conversation. And it started with just that, the technology. And really, we're talking about investing hundreds of millions of dollars when it gets right down to it in smart street technology. Now, the challenge always is you buy something and it's already outdated by the time you get it and you've implemented it. I'm always worried about that, and all these new things coming so fast. that, who's keeping up with all this stuff, and is everything talking to each other? So I even wonder there, are we going to have some sort of, regulatory system? And I always worry that whoever's regulating, they're usually the ones that are the least conversant in the technology. They're the ones that have no idea, but they're like, no, we're going to use this old, 50s technology.
To your point, there's a project in Atlanta that was Peachtree, one of the 42 Peachtrees, the main one, where we're deployed on. We have 4 IntelliSections up down Peachtree at Piedmont, and they're doing it in stages. And the problem is the spec that they originally did for the infrastructure upgrade is now 4 or 5 years old. So the cameras that they're ordering are now that old of technology, and the price hasn't come down, right? So you're right, that's a problem. We need to say, can we put the newest technology on rather than just trying to keep in line and have to redo things? How do you make that adroitness in the technology?
Well, government's going to have to go through some dramatic changes itself, and we're looking at that as well, how we can be much more flexible. The challenge is, our concern has always been, graft cronyism and all the things that come along with the government that can be dynamic and flexible, but then skip steps so that suddenly someone who knows someone's, you get a sweetheart deal. So to protect against that, you create what we've got, a very cumbersome process, which is so maddening that very few people want to deal with it. And so, but in transportation, we're going to have to figure it out.
Can I say one thing really politically incorrect?
Yeah, that's great. This is what this is all about.
We understand why those systems are in place, right? When you're buying a bridge or buying asphalt or buying a piece of road, it's a commodity to some degree. Your differential is mostly experience and price. What those systems have done, they've served their value to cut a lot of the graft out, but they push that cronyism, if you will, so deep now, and there's absolutely no way for anybody to penetrate into that model.
Yeah.
And it's at a level now, and
I will agree.
So a public-private partnership, a PPP, I think is probably one of the only or best ways. I'd like to talk about a data PPP, right? We've talked to a couple of states about, you spend how much on 511? Do you think you're getting your service? I was stuck for 2 hours in an ice storm, and I called 511, and they told me there's no congestion. That happened. I wish I could have recorded it. The sign said 55 miles per hour in each direction. I have a picture of that, and I can show you the Google Maps showing black, right? So the system, the infrastructure is not performing as we need it to perform. Private sector can come in and help, but again, there's got to be a profit incentive for me to attract investors to be able to do the service for you. So that's the bridge we need to cross. So as a public-private partnership where I say, give me your data, let me enrich it, enhance it, let me put it out to the consumers, and let's let the consumers make their choices.
Right.
If you want traffic information, pay for the mobile advertising, buy a subscription. Let me monetize that to pay for that, and then we can drive more cameras out in a PPP model, where as the system grows, it expands.
And I think that no matter what, that's the key. We're going to have to either give an asset or some of our money to do it. The public needs to make a commitment, right? And so if they don't want you to sell their data, this is a valid.
Then you pay for it.
Then they pay for it. Yeah, exactly. And so it's a give and take, and it probably will always end up being some combination, which is the best thing. I mean, actually, standing back there at Stanford Change Labs is talking about something. It's talking about payment systems across all transportation systems and the data that can be done from that, and the public-private partnerships and that. So I mean, public-private partnerships is how we're going to move transportation forward and the way we're going to move faster. But the public is still going to have to make a commitment and we're going to be a part of that.
And we're going to see that in the topic that I didn't want to toss in here. I can't have a conversation without talking about rail or things like that. But seriously, even the conversation we had at the chamber earlier today, I'm like, look, rail to me is a stint. It's a small little piece. It won't go everywhere. In some places it doesn't belong. But in those areas where they're so congested, where you got fixed points, you want to link them, let's do it. But is there a way to do it where someone can actually make some money off of it? Usually what we do is we have government involved. Government builds it, and they make it in a way that it's so unappealing, so unattractive, people don't really want to use it or don't want to go there. But what we're finding is that you've got private providers that are building rail lines, but they're also developing around it. The Dallas Morning News had a great piece yesterday about $4 billion of infrastructure development going on along the rail hubs, along the DART lines. $4 billion in development activities. So that means, it tells me there's a way to maybe get somebody else to help pay for the small pieces so we can kind of free up the congestion while we focus on the larger battle, which is those streets out there, which, here's what captured me. when you've got 32,000 people dying a year on our roads, is that the number?
37.
37,
Okay.
yeah.
Damn, that's a national emergency.
Yeah.
So, let's put our technology to work making our streets safer.
If
and
we
let's focus on that conversation, and then we can deal with the other things, but let's zero in on how we're going to make our streets smarter, safer. And my question and my prayer is that Tampa Bay, we're seen as the epicenter of that conversation. That every company in the planet, Google and others as well, who are going to say, you know what, I need to be sitting next to this guy, or hiring this guy, or maybe you'll hire them.
Let's go back to the last technological revolution and why this is. I think these multiple options report and transportation, and that was the steam engine, right? So in New York in the early 1800s, they decided to do one of the largest United States public works projects, which is the Erie Canal. The train, by the time they actually built it, had already been invented. But New York didn't sit there and be like, we have the canal, we're done. They built railroads too. They gave money to private business to do railroads too. And then when cars came out, it's not like New York sat there. They had people building highways immediately. Robert Moses was a key person early in that, and people can have their debates about him all they want. But the truth is that we need to be doing all of this. Yes. And if we don't do all of it, we're going to be behind, period, end of story.
Yes, and to follow up, to follow up on that comment made on the safety. It is critical for us at THEA, for example. One of our goals on these connected vehicles is not only to face the current issue that we're having on congestion, but to improve the safety of our roads. So we want to help the community. We want to help the private sector. We, at the local level and the public side of the equation, we're ready to support and to help. But we need to be involved, and we want to be involved, and we want to do it. We're ready, and I agree. Technology is ready. Technology is not the problem. We have technology all over around us. So it is critical that we focus our energies around the improvements of the services that we're providing to the community based on the safety issue that we have on our roads.
I'm excited to see THEA. THEA took the lead on the toll lane conversation, bus toll lanes. I mean, what's the fastest way to accelerate connection between fixed locations? A bus along a dedicated lane. I know that's going to be a big part of the conversation. We can jump past a lot of the challenges by just looking at, toll lanes. Sure. And then what else can go along a toll lane? I'm sure other smart vehicles. Sure. We could be a dedicated lane for smart vehicles. Everybody will want to use it.
Sure. Yeah.
Is there anybody here at this table who doesn't believe that in 50 years the mail will be delivered by robots?
In 50 years, I don't believe there will be mail.
Well, but there will still be package delivery. There will still be.
That'll be by drone.
Oh, the Amazon drones.
But there's no doubt that robots will be doing this work. They will be taken away from the United States Post Office. The question is how do we accelerate that timeline from 50 years to perhaps 5 years? It has to happen somewhere. I would like to see us as a group get together and form a type of X Prize, a type of Kremer Prize. Define the space, define the mission, and send people in a competitive edge to accomplish a particular goal. It could be as simple as pizza delivery, or it could be as complicated as mail delivery. But either one of those choices would have to be decided together based upon an overview of what technologies are capable of right now. But we also need a partnership with guys like Mark on where is the defined public space. Would it be an area like Sun City Center? Sun City Center would be perfect because they're already using low-speed electric vehicles to commute from their shopping areas to the residential areas. That's what we need is an experimental area to make this happen.
And that's why I'm excited, even with the Amazon fulfillment facility down on 75. Amazon's thinking like that. Amazon's already planning ways to, we've heard about the drones. I saw some guy that was working on a drone that could deliver crafts of beer. I mean, it's kind of cool.
Over at, so one of my employees, Ryan Holmes, he runs the Tampa Hackerspace. They actually just raised over $15,000 on Kickstarter, right? So it's on Armenia. It's in John Oliva's tobacco shop. Like they rents out the back area. And so from there, it's like they build drones. They build, the quadcopters. They have CNC machines, 3D printers, and they're building, new opportunities there. And it's the drones. I think are going to be a big point because you said no flying cars. I think right now that's a false statement. I think in 5 years, 10 years, you'll be able to one person quad rotor and get you low travel. Because right now, if you look on YouTube, there's people right now that are building quadcopters that you can sit in and they'll hover 20 feet and go 4 miles. So
It's like the Segway for air.
that's right. But you put that into perception, right? 5 to 10 years from now, and you have it to where people can just go and you land somewhere, right? Like maybe on a roof area or something. I mean, you got to start thinking like that because the reality of it is, like you said, 50 years, same cars, right? It's because we're thinking the same way. You know, you say you don't think it's going to fly. We won't have flying. We can't think like that. If we're going to change anything, right? Everything has to be possible, and everything has to be attackable, right? And so it's like we can sit here and talk all day long about how we're going to change this and do that and this, but it has to start with, me and you talked 3 months ago about that. It has to start with one organized group of people that are in the community, that are involved with technology, that are actually within their right, no offense to anybody, appropriate demographical group of age that understand technology enough and understand how they can push it into the market faster than legislation can make it work. Because it's been 4 months and we're still working on that, right? And it's been a year since I met you and we're still working on some of this stuff that we're talking about now. I mean, but it moves way too fast. I mean,
So aren't we just talking about? He brought up the idea of an X Prize. I would argue that we actually have a different X Prize.
I like the X Prize.
I believe it's the other way around. It's not a prize to the companies to get it done. It's actually like let's convince the companies to give an area who's willing to change their regulations.
I love that.
To allow this to happen, and the companies commit to coming.
I
here
love
and do
that.
That's my challenge to the business community.
No, I
that
love
would be a prize that we need. We just said we have the technology. We need the regulations.
I love that, but like, so think of this, real smart.
Let's build it.
Think it real quick though, right? Everybody talks about data, what's important. Everybody wants to buy data, understand what people are doing, right? To solve quick issues, why not make an app that allows consumers to tie into, right? But then you'd make businesses as a network disperse a route for you to take home based on the likes and interests that you like, right? So now I click into that route, which is going to take me a different way, maybe an extra 15 minutes on the way home. However, based on the data and knowledge that I have on your driving pattern, my driving pattern, I'm going to be able to increase speeds by 10%. 10%, right? The businesses are willing to pay it a substantial amount of money for me to drive that route for an extra 10 minutes. Something like that doesn't require big legislation. Something like that doesn't require road changes. Something like that just requires a group of businesses to get together and other businesses and a smart app and use the data that's already being collected on your phone.
Yep.
Things like that are ways that we increase the speed of proficiency. But that's
This is how incubators, accelerators, hacker spaces, and such work. What I think is cool is finally in Tampa Bay, we're bringing people like what we got around this table together who, in just a matter of 30 minutes, are coming up with, well, why don't we do this? Well, I got an idea over here. And here's the cool thing. Because you got to have government at the table. Government sitting at the table going, okay, as long as we're not leading this thing, we think we can help. And suddenly, you've got the formation. I've already heard another company here. I'm thinking, this is a good idea. This is what we're trying to do in Tampa Bay. The whole point of this conversation is to say we're going to take the lead. We need your help, though, in getting the word out, getting companies to want to come here. We need space. We need the opportunity to test. The Expressway Authority has already said, we're in. We'll let you test it out. So, 1 second. And we got the Tampa Bay Times right here, sitting here. What's that?
no reporter's notebook.
Tampa Tribune. What am I saying? Sorry. Now I'm dead. Yeah, I've got my Tampa Tribune. Tampa Tribune. Oh, here we go. Henderson right here.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put that in your drink.
But you know what? For the first time, we're having a conversation about these type of businesses right here. And I think what we want to do, Jason, is make autonomous vehicles and that technology the lead in Tampa. We need your help.
That's what we're trying to do. I mean, we have the resources, we have the willingness, we have the right people put together, and the right partnership with Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority to make a dent.
And that's a wrap. Sorry, guys. We're coming up to the clock. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.